All right, let's jump right in. We are about to unpack a fundamental, almost tectonic shift that's happening in the world of finance. And look, this isn't just some minor update. It's a complete reimagining of how companies get funding and how investors can access that value. Welcome to Wall Street 3.0.
And this quote really sets the stage. The system that we've all relied on for decades, the one that's supposed to power our entire economy, well, it's showing some serious cracks. It seems that for a huge slice of the market, that engine that provides the fuel, the liquidity, is just stalling out.
So what's really at stake here? Just look at this number. $14 quadrillion. And no, that's not a typo. That's the estimated size of this massive, untapped potential that's currently locked away in private markets all over the world. It is an almost unimaginable amount of value just sitting there.
This iceberg visual is the perfect way to understand the scale of what we're talking about. The public markets we all hear about, the NYSE, NASDAQ, they represent about $110 trillion. That's the part you see, the tip of the iceberg. But underneath the water lies that enormous, underserved territory, the $14 quadrillion private market.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that huge locked market, then get into exactly why the old system is failing. From there, we'll explore the digital shift that's happening, the solution that's emerging, and finally, what some are calling a new NASDAQ era. So first up, let's get a handle on the problem itself. What exactly makes up this $14 quadrillion locked market? Well, we're talking about over 5 million companies. These aren't startups in a garage. They're established businesses, many pulling in $10 million or more in revenue. The problem is, they're too big for the usual private capital routes, but they're completely shut out from the big public exchanges. They're basically stuck in a financial no man's land. So that leads to the critical question, why? Why are they trapped? What is it about our legacy exchanges that is failing such a huge and vital part of our economy? This visual just says it all, doesn't it? These solid mid-market companies are being squeezed through the tiny bottleneck of an old, inefficient, and frankly, ridiculously expensive system. They're being excluded not because they're bad companies, but because the system itself is just stuck in the past. It really boils down to 4 key failures of the old system. You've got prohibitive costs. We're talking millions. You've got incredibly slow processes that can take months, even years. Then there are rigid regulations that just don't fit a modern business. And finally, you have liquidity that's trapped in a 9-to-5 box and often takes 2 days just to settle a single trade. It simply wasn't built for today's global 24/7 world. And the direct result of all these failures is this idea of trapped value. It creates this massive liquidity gap. What that means is founders, early investors, even employees with stock options, they're all locked in. They can't access the very value they worked so hard to create, and that ultimately just stifles growth and innovation for everybody. But things are changing. This broken system is now facing a perfect storm of forces, and they're making a digital shift not just a possibility, but an absolute inevitability. It seems evolution isn't really a choice here. For capital markets, it's become a necessity. 4 major catalysts are really pushing this forward. First, big institutions are finally embracing tokenization. Second, and this is crucial, the regulatory frameworks are maturing. Places like Bermuda are creating sophisticated, clear rules for digital assets, which gives major funds the confidence they need. Policy is speeding things up. And finally, the blockchain technology itself is now enterprise-grade. It's secure and it's scalable. So with all these forces coming together, we're seeing a new solution start to take shape. It's one that moves us away from all that manual work and into something called programmable capital. And that brings us to the institutional digital offering, or IDO. So what exactly is an IDO? It is really important to get this right. This is not a token in that speculative crypto sense. This is a prospectus grade, which means it's fully regulated, blockchain-native equity instrument. The best way to think about it is as a serious financial tool that offers a streamlined, regulator-ready path for a company to become publicly tradable. And this is how blockchain completely revolutionizes the market. Instead of that delayed T+2 settlement, you get T0 finality. Trades are done instantly. Instead of limited trading windows, you get 24/7 global access. Instead of human transfer agents, you have automated smart contracts handling compliance. And it allows for fractionalization, which opens up access to a much wider range of investors. I mean, just look at this side by side. The ideal model completely transforms every single key metric. Cost drops from being incredibly expensive to highly efficient. time to market shrinks from months or even years down to just a matter of weeks. Liquidity goes from being regional and time-gated to global and around the clock. And access opens up from a restricted few to a democratized many. It is a structural upgrade across the entire board.
And if you want proof that this model works, the data really drives it home. Just look at these valuations. Binance, a digital native platform, reached a valuation of $160 billion with only 450 listings. That's nearly double the NYSE's valuation with a tiny fraction of the companies. It just proves that efficiency is the new driver of value in this space.
So this isn't just a technical upgrade we're watching. This is a historical evolution. We are literally witnessing the birth of a new era, one that has a striking parallel to one of the most important moments in modern financial history.
Think back to the 1970s. NASDAQ came along and digitized the old, slow, over-the-counter market, and in doing so, it completely changed the entire trajectory of global wealth creation. The argument here is that today, digital exchanges are positioned to do the exact same thing for that massive $14 quadrillion private market.
As Stephen Meade, who founded a digital exchange in this very space, puts it, the whole paradigm has shifted. Going public is no longer this slow, analog, and exclusive process. The entire goal is to make it fast, digital, and democratized.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it really seems that the liquidity gap is finally closing. The old gatekeepers are being bypassed by technology, and the very future of capital is being redefined as digital, global, and truly liquid. This evolution, it feels like it's already well underway.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. If this digital path becomes the new standard, are we actually heading toward a future where nearly every private company, no matter its size, could one day have its own ticker symbol, accessible to anyone, anywhere, at any time?